Good afternoon and welcome to Libertarian Counterpoint Podcast. We're coming at you on October 2nd, 2020. Still kind of a lot of crazy stuff going along. We still have some COVID shutdowns and craziness. Still some embers of riots going on in some places in the country. But we're going to jump into all that. But first, let me introduce our panel to you. Left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last in Liberty. And up in our right-hand corner, we have, and Leon is a retired engineer from the state of California. And up in our right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett, who is a pilot in the state of California. And I'm your host, Jason McPhee. And we also wanted to let you know as well, we have what you call an email address where you can send comments to Libertarian Counterpoint. I think it should be streaming in a second there. Counterpoint at libertariancounterpoint.com. And so if you have any comments, or if you wanted to send us any of your experiences about being shut down or impacted by COVID or the riots, or if you're a Cal Exeter as well, we'd love to hear about any of those things. We'll use some of that on a show in the future. Okay, so jumping right into some of the news today. We have a new executive order here in California signed by our governor that says they're going to be requiring diversity on all corporate boards. So essentially, it's kind of a quota for public entities, or private entities rather. So. Corporations that are headquartered in California. So this is, kind of a sign of 2020 issues on race that are just sort of popping up everywhere. But certainly, potential intrusion into private enterprise. Do either of you guys want to jump in on that topic?
Well, I'm going to start first.
Go ahead.
Because I want Leon to have the last word, because he is the last word. And every time I follow him, I cannot compare even equal his contribution. And so, rather than being the tail end Charlie again, I would like to jump in quickly. And this
the eagle has spoken.
That's right.
Yeah,
the screaming eagle has spoken. Yes.
Yeah, screaming eagle is screaming first too. Don't forget. So the thing I was wondering, is this really an executive order? The article linked that you had sent us, Jason, says something about it being a signature that he put on, and it has seemed like it was associated with some legislation.
It is. There's some legislation associated with it, yes.
Okay, all right. So it's a legislated thing, and all I can say about it is, if the taxes and high cost of living weren't enough to drive companies out, and the there it is. I mean, a regulatory environment that's not friendly to business. I mean, if there ever was an environment unfriendly to business, telling corporations who they have to have on their boards of a private company is smacks of public ownership without really owning. I mean, what amount of money are they fronting to get the ability to tell the corporations who to have on their boards? Are they buying stock? Is the state of California now in the business of buying stock in these corporations? No, they just want to tell everybody what to do. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And if I was a corporation that was on the fence about staying in California or leaving to more business-friendly states that don't tell you who you have to put on your board of directors, and what quota of certain certain minorities or whatever it might be. I mean, where's it end? Okay, well, you don't have enough American Indians on your board. You don't have enough Pacific Islanders. You don't have enough people from who you name it. I mean, all right. Anyway, that's all I have to say. And so now we have the last coming up.
It's not. It is not that who they're telling to put on the board is the problem. Is they're telling who to put on the board and what criteria to use to determine who should go on those boards. This is an unimaginable invasion into the operation of private corporations. And Tim, you're absolutely right. We have enough problems with keeping business in California. This is going to drive them out even further. And look at it. Who is going to benefit from these things? It's not some single mom living in some black neighborhood is going to benefit from this. No, it's well-off blacks are going to benefit from it. Like all other programs they have to help minorities. I wish, my prayer is that these people, these white liberals, will stop trying to save us. I really wish that, because they are not doing any good for anyone other than a few well-off people who would be doing just fine anyway. I don't need these people to save me, and I'm sure there are a lot of blacks in America don't need white liberals to save them, but they keep coming. Oh, they always have these wonderful programs, these wonderful ideas, and this last thing is the thing that's going to put us over the top. It is ridiculous, and it's racist. That's what it is, because in the article that you sent, the first thing they said, oh, we have corporate racism because blacks are underrepresented, only 2% on the boards. So what? The NBA is 85% black, and we only 13% of the population. So I guess there's a problem here for white people in the NBA. When this nonsense is going to stop? Please.
Not to mention
that was quite a word. Man.
not to mention the ageism they have against us old guys in the NBA. I mean, old white guys are really or underrepresented in the NBA. So we need to have.
We don't have many, 18-year-olds on the boards either. I mean, are we going to need to get that? Next, I don't know. Maybe we need, high schoolers represented as well.
And I'm sure they don't have many foreign-born Trinidad guys who are immigrants who speak with a strange accent on their boards either. So I need my quota too.
And by the way,
it's an insult. It's an insult to the people they want to get on these boards. It's like, well, if we can't mandate it, then you guys have no chance of being on these boards. We have to mandate that because you're so untalented that you're not ending up on these boards anyway. So we gotta pave the way for you to do it by excluding maybe more capable people. And by doing that ease of entry makes it more. It motivates people not to try hard enough to get the skills to become welcome on boards by their own skill level instead of
skill and merit. Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
By the color of skin they were born with, or whatever parameter or the sex they were born with, that kind of thing. Because it was started off with the women being underrepresented. So it's got nothing to do with the content of your character. It's just the color of your skin.
Exactly.
So here we are.
Yeah. And that's an important point. We had this big civil rights movement, and Dr. King told us, he wants his children to live in a nation where they are judged by not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Yeah, that's
and
where
every
I want to
move. I'm sorry.
That's where I want to live.
Exactly. Yeah. But look at what's happening now. Every single move we make now is to judge by the color of the skin, which is in direct opposition, in direct contradiction to what Dr. King said. And these people, these very same people like Gavin Newsom and all these Democrats, Team Blue, as Jason liked to say, who want to push these sort of things down our throats. These are the people who embrace Martin Luther King. Oh, Dr. King, he was the man who led us to the civil rights movement. Well, then go, for God's sake, look at what he said. We want to live in a nation where we are judged, not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character.
Yeah. Well, and I also wanted to point out too that, yeah, you guys were right. I'd mistaken when I said it was an executive order. It was actually a law that was signed. So, anyways, yeah, apparently he's been signing a lot of executive orders lately. So all kinds of nonsense. Yeah. This is just one of many. But before we move on to the next point, yeah, that's one thing that, generally, markets tend to, an irrational bias is generally something where, you have some bias that has nothing to do with the performance of the product or whatever it is, the unit that's being measured. And so obviously skin color on a board is, kind of like, does that really the final metric that you want to be looking at? And so, an irrational bias is something a lot of markets tend to deal with, and you can see this in sports, well, without government action, black people became the majority in sports, well exceeding their actual, representation in the sport. And it's just because the skin color really had nothing to do with the metric of success. So, it's just, it really just looking at performance and hey, these guys are doing better. And, for whatever reason, there could be some economic underlying things or whatever, but hey, whoever's doing the best, that's who we're going to take. And that kind of overrides a lot of those irrational bias, even to the point where we saw that owner of the Los Angeles Clippers who was clearly a racist, but he hired black people and paid them the going rate. He didn't,
exactly.
Been a loser. So. Anyways,
exactly. Where in the world have you seen every ethnic group is perfectly represented in every field of endeavor? Where do you see that anywhere in the world? It does not happen. People make different choices in their lives. I come from a family of 9. Okay, nine siblings. I have 8 siblings, 9 of us. And all of us do all sorts of different things. Did it work out all perfectly? There are 2 engineers in the family, myself and one brother. But beyond that, people do all sorts of things. Who could make these determinations that even within a family, we can't get everybody to equally represent as the way somebody said it should be, but we think we could do that in the society at large? It is ridiculous. This is racist nonsense. And we're going all the way back to Jim Crow, okay? We're going all the way back to Jim Crow. We're trying to determine who's black and who's not, and who should get benefits because of their skin color and who should not. Just based on how dark their skin is, we're going to make determinations about their movement in society. These things are so corrupt, it's unbelievable.
Well, and in order to move us along just a little bit on the side of this whole Gavin Newsom thing and California law, there's on the national level, has recently banned some of this diversity training that's been going on inside of government agencies, and I think that also may impact some of the schools as well that get funding. I'm not quite sure, on that end of it, but certainly he made a kind of a splashy statement that hey, some of this diversity training that's going on to where essentially it was making the assumption that if you're if you're white male, essentially you're guilty of something, was essentially the way a lot of this stuff was framed, I guess, instead of, just having a conversation, I guess. But anyways, that's currently being banned by executive order from Trump. So do either guys have any thoughts on that?
Timmy, you want to go again? It's fine.
Well, yeah, I should, if I had any I was trying to look that up. And it has a term. What was the name of the term?
Critical race theory.
That's it. Critical race theory. Yeah. And part of its parameters is that the United States was founded on racism, and it's a bad, evil entity. And if you really want to fix it, you got to change everything about it and get down to the core and make it more collectivist is essentially what I'm hearing. As if collectivist nations are founded on racial equality.
Yes, tell me this.
Such wonderful examples as Stalin's Russia, for example, or
Yes.
the Soviet Union, founded, deeply rooted in making sure everybody had freedom and equality and all that. Well, they maybe tried to make sure everybody was equally miserable,
Yes.
and they succeeded at that.
They
But
always produce that one. Always.
yeah. So anyway, I mean, so maybe Trump is onto something here. I mean, I kind of wish they would change the name of these executive orders, no matter who comes up with them, to dictatorial orders, but which is a little more accurate than executive. Or it could be that they're thinking they're executives of a company and that they own the company and can tell it whatever they want. I mean, guide it in any direction. Certainly, Trump has displayed that propensity. He wants, it seems like he's always interested in, running the ship from, he's the captain, and by golly, forget about this whole constitutional setup we have here of a federalized republic. Now we're just gonna, I'm king, or I'm the executive. So I just wish they'd change it to just dictatorial orders, because these guys are pretending to be dictators all over. That's it for me.
Well, I mean, before we get into the real issue, I mean, executive orders really and truly, I mean, as long as the voters could speak and the new president, well, assuming he don't get reelected also, assuming he's termed out, if a new president could get in there and change the previous president executive order, I don't have a problem with executive orders per se. But I could see a point that it sort of gives some sense of dictatorial powers. But that aside, this critical race theory is nothing but a bunch of racism repackaged. Because if you look at what they're talking about egalitarianism. They're talking about justice. They're talking about, all these nice inclusivity. They always use these nice, wonderful words to do what they want to do, which is new racism. All we're trying to do here is to destroy whiteness. Okay, that's all they're trying to do. Anybody who is white, they are guilty of something. They are guilty of their past sins, of their forefathers who enslaved poor me. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're guilty of. And they're going to pay for it now. You see, the whole problem is that, yes, they want to have this good conversation about all our things, all the racism of the past. Well, okay, fine. Let's have the conversation. But if there's racism of the past, there were racists there. And who are those racists? So as soon as you want to start talking about racism of the past, I'm fine with that. But let's talk about the Democratic Party, because their role was predominant in the racism of the past. You want to bring that into the present? Let's talk about it. But don't pretend to me, you're going to save me and save black people, and don't want to talk about who did the evil in the past and just blame every white person you see. Because we always want to complain about profiling. Black people are profiled by the police in particular. Well, what do you think we're doing when we're blaming whites for everything that go wrong in this society? What do you think we're doing? I'm just going to look at you guys, Jason and Tim, and you guys guilty, You guys guilty of doing something to me. I wonder what is that? So all these stupid white liberals who think they owe me something, I'll take $10,000 per person, and I'll forgive you. $10,000, that's all I want. And I'll forgive you forever. Just give me $10,000, all of you. Put your money where your mouth is and stop this damn nonsense, please.
That's why we call him the last word in liberty. Yeah. So Leon wants them to be a little more focused about what white people are we're really referring to as the Democrat white people, more than the Republicans, historically speaking. Yeah, that's true.
Well, and speaking of, I guess, that group of white Democrats, I suppose they're probably more interested in shopping at Target nowadays, because Target has a special label now where you can identify exactly who it is that makes your business by race. So if you are a person of color you can now have your goods. This was instigated back about a couple months ago. Target put this out, I think. But since we're really diving down that race rabbit hole in this particular episode, let's find out where if that's really important, where you buy your goods. Target will help you out, and they now have a way you can isolate products based on race. Do you guys have a thought on that?
Well, I mean, they can do it if they want. Excuse me. I guess it's maybe a marketing thing. They're trying it out and seeing how that, throwing it up against the wall, see what sticks. And maybe that's going to stick. Maybe it will increase total sales or something. I don't know. They certainly have every right to do that, I think. I don't know. I mean, I wish them luck. I don't know that it would necessarily make me choose one product that I preferred over another one that was Black owned just because it was Black owned. I don't, and that doesn't mean that it's a bad product or not as good as the other ones, but I particularly like I like Apple as opposed to Android. Okay. That doesn't mean Android's not good. They're clearly a good brand of smartphone because a lot of people use them. If they were so horrible, then people wouldn't buy them as many as they do. So I could want a product that was not in this list of Black-owned products over and like it better and buy it. I would assume that's what I would do. Can't see myself or too many people, maybe some would go in and say, well, I really don't like this as much as that, but I'm going to buy this because it's Black-owned. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Leon?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, Tim. Okay, Target is a private company, and they should be free to do as they please in terms of who they want to have contracts with or who they want to market in terms of products and that kind of stuff. I have no problem with that. Yeah. The problem I have is the hypocrisy involved in these things. If you look at the commercial, there's a woman in the commercial. I think she's the founder of this particular product, it's Honey Pot or something like that. And she said, "Oh, the next time a Black girl comes along with a good idea, at least Target will help them or some kind of stuff and things like that." The problem is, if a white person said the next time a little white girl comes along with a good idea, oh, we're going to have all sorts of screams of racism, and they want to cancel that person. That is the nonsense I don't like. The hypocrisy involved. Yes, Target is a private company. Yes, they can do as they please if this is what they choose to do. If they can survive in the marketplace, that's up to them. But I don't like the hypocrisy involved in some of these things that is going on.
Okay. Well, and I can't, quite imagine too what must be going through somebody's head as well if they're so racist that they're sitting there with a roll of toilet paper or something and they're saying, was it Black made or white made? I don't know. I mean, just but yeah. I guess.
I mean, they could at least make the Black made toilet paper a dark black color or something.
I guess it'll wipe my ass a little cleaner. I guess, yes.
Well, that's the sound of our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So, in diving a little deeper on this, this can really show you where the craziness goes on this topic. The kind of perverted thinking when people really get down to isolating everybody by their skin color. Our government, through the Smithsonian Museum, recently, it was the Smithsonian National Museum of African American Culture had a page on whiteness of all things. So, and essentially what it says, there was a description that says, whiteness and white racialized identity refer to the way white people, their customs, cultures, and belief operate as the standard by which all other groups are compared. Whiteness is also at the core of understanding race in America. Whiteness and the normalization of white racial identity throughout America's history have created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. Now, that's your government putting that together, and putting that out through a national museum, essentially, to promote this kind of stuff. And we actually have a graphic of how bizarre it is, and let me see if I can share that right now. I'm going to see if I can pull up this graphic here.
Was
Okay.
that a state or was that federal?
Oh, that's federal.
That's
That's
federal.
in Washington, D.C. That's
Oh,
part of
okay.
the Smithsonian Museum. So now here we have part of an image of this banner that they had, and they actually pulled this down, but you can see some of the nonsense. They say these are aspects and assumptions of white culture, and they got enough. Fortunately, there was enough, people who objected to this that they pulled it down eventually. But look at some of this stuff. They say it's whiteness to have an emphasis on the scientific method. Objective, rational, linear thinking is whiteness. Quantitative emphasis. That means essentially mathematical thinking is whiteness. I can't think of a more offensive racist thing to put together. I mean, how perverted your mind must be.
I think being on time on that list, wasn't it? Punctuality
Yeah.
was on the list also.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, and it's just the list is a little longer. Unfortunately, this is a truncated list, but it's just absolutely terrible. Some of the things they're thinking, like individual self-reliance. That's a white thing, apparently. It's just how perverted your thinking must be to assume that these are white characteristics. It's beyond the pale to me. I'm going to pull it down now so we can. Do you guys have some thoughts?
Boy, I'm going to let Leon take this one because I feel because he's black, he's more qualified than I am to address this.
No, Tim, no, please, no. Not because I'm black, okay? Not because I'm black.
Because you're on time. Unlike our host.
Yeah.
Who is white?
Who happens to be white? Yes. Right there, that whole thing.
So I guess my whiteness has been pulled away from me. Whatever that means.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, but Leon, how about you give us your take because you're not lazy? That's
that's right. This is the government doing this. At least they're funding this thing. They're funding this thing, okay? But slavery was legal. Jim Crow and segregation was legal. And now they're making this damn nonsense legal too, okay? Because the government is funding it. They're teaching our children that basic things that the market have determined is valuable for us to go forward in life. They want to make those things illegal. They want to make those things unpalatable. They want to make those things as something horrible that black and brown and everybody else should ever engage in because it's so horrible. Imagine that. Something is wrong with being self-reliant. Something is wrong with being on time. Something is wrong with using science, data, and facts to analyze any situations. Oh, you're thinking white. Oh my God, that's a horrible thing. This is the problem we have in America today. George Orwell is so correct. This world is turning upside down, where good people are becoming bad and bad people are becoming good. And we better change this and change it fast. Otherwise, we're not going to like the America that we're going to have to live with in a few years.
Yeah, and then this was a perfect example of how perverted the thinking can get. But that's about the end of our time. So, sorry we can't get more into it. But thanks for joining us today. And like I said, you can catch our shows at Facebook, Libertarian Counterpoint, or libertarian.com. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks for joining us.